Hi, I'm Linda Kay from Hanover Township Senior Center, and today I am presenting you another virtual program of things you can make with supplies you have around the house. And we are going to be covering toilet paper core critters. We have a PDF downloadable instruction file for you to use on our website, hanover-township.org, and in our virtual programming section you can find this PDF listed under our virtual programming, and then this video will help you show you how to do little details and things that you will need to know to make your crafting a little bit fun and easier. And I chose this because I know that we all have things like this laying around the house. We will be using paper towel tubes or toilet paper tubes, and they're plentiful now. I'm sure you have a few around the house, and you can use the toilet paper or the paper towel. You would need to cut these down to size or make something tall, up to you. So the way I go about getting these ready is I make sure I get all the paper and the glue residue off just by rubbing it off, and then I will put them on a piece of newspaper and spray them with a disinfectant spray and let them dry overnight. Another way to disinfect them would be to put them in sunshine for several hours. Turn them like in a sunny window would be good, and then you're ready to go. So what else you will need are simple supplies. You'll need a pencil, so you can mark your lines and erase if you need to. Some scissors, and I have two pairs. I have a larger one and a small one for fine detail if you want to get really detailed. Some markers. I use the Sharpie markers, and I like to use both a bullet tip end and a fine tipped end, and that's what we'll be using for this project, an owl that we're going to be making. And then we can use crayons or markers. And I've got a really nice set of markers that were donated by somebody here for the township. So these are a watercolor based type of markers. Any kind will work, the Sharpie or the watercolor. And I've got a mat down here to protect my tabletop, or you could use newspaper or something like that. And then you might want to also include regular school type glue. This is an Elmer's. You might want to have some pom-poms for little tail details, or googly eyes if you have those, and just use your imagination and have fun with this. So what I'm going to show you that I've created with these, from really simple to some things that are more detailed. This little spider was one that I found on Pinterest and copied. I don't remember who created it first, but I thought, well, this is really easy, especially fun for little kids. So what I would do is draw it out with pencil, color it with a marker, and then cut the feet out, the legs out. And these are just slightly bent in two places, so that makes it fun and able to stand. I did the owls, which is what we're going to go through and do together. This one was the first one I did in black and white, which is the black marker, front and back, and even the top of the head. And then I thought, well, why not try it and do it in color? So I did color with the black Sharpie marker and some of these colorful markers that were donated. I did the little rabbit, which is really cute and so easy and fun. And then I thought, well, get a little more creative. So I took a picture of my cat, and I made him into a toilet paper tube critter too. Even the back and his fluffy tail. So that was fun. And then I thought, well, what else could we do to make something creative and maybe do something that would involve my grandchildren? So I did a couple fable characters. This is Red Riding Hood and the wolf. So I found a vintage picture of the story on Pinterest, and I started creating the characters here. This is Red Riding Hood, and she has her basket of goodies for Grandma in her famous red cloak. And then the wolf came into play, and I wanted to make great big teeth and his tail in the back. And he stands up on his four legs, which I cut out with the scissors, and got a little small ones to get some details in between here, which was helpful. So that's how I made these. So I want to show you how to go about making an owl in black and white. That will include the 2 Sharpie markers, one in fine tip and one in a bold bullet tip point, and I'll get started on that. Alright, for the first part of making a creature, you want to create some ears for our owl, and that's this bent area right here. And it's really easy to do this. You have to be a little gentle just first and then kind of coax it in. If you notice that the top of the tube is glued together, it will be a little bit thicker, and it tends to bend towards that joint area here, this where the seams meet together. So that will make the nice top of an ear, which is this portion right here. So what you want to do is just gently start folding it in to this point, and I like to put my finger at the top of the ear and then start bending it in gently. You don't want to go too much at first, and just kind of soften it up and then bend it in and create this kind of point. So now you've got 2 ears started, right? And then you're going to turn it around and do the other side gently till they meet. And it has to be coaxed a little bit. I'm putting my thumb on the inside and pushing it with my fingers, and that helps a lot. So I get the right shape, and I'm going to coax it into place so that the seams meet at the top like this. And then I'm going to take both hands and do a pinch at the top of the ears. Just pinch them pretty tightly so you get a nice pointy crease. And then I'm going to play with pushing it down a little bit here along the top folded edge. And you make it nice and gentle curve, both the front and the back. It's a little stiffer here where the seams meet, but you can still coax it in there until I got a nice rounded edge. It meets in the middle, and I'm ready to create my owl. And on this one, where it's a little higher in the back, on this edge, I'm going to make this the back of the head and this the front, just because it just seems to work out that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center point of the face. That will be this area right in here. I'm sorry, you want to get it close so you can see this area right in here. So I'm going to make a plus sign right here. That will be reference for my eye placement, and I want to put it about 1/4 of the way down from the top edge. So here's my plus. Like that. Now the vertical line will be placement for the beak, and the horizontal line will help me with the placement of the eyes. Now you can draw the eyes in first or the beak, doesn't matter. I kind of like to do the eyes, so I'm going to make them fairly big, but I'm not going to put them right next to each other along this line. I'm going to space them out a little bit because I need to leave room for the beak itself. Now remember, owl eyes are pretty big, so I can start sketching them in like that, and a little bit off, so being it's in pencil, I can erase it and start again. And the reason I'm using the pencil first is for this very reason, because if I make a mistake, I can erase it and it's not going to show very much. So that's pretty close. They're a little lopsided, but that's all right. So now I've got the placement where I want my eyes, and I'm going to create a beak, and I want to do the beak right about here, and then I'm going to bring it up between the eyes, and I kind of like a diamond shape to my beaks. It just looks fun. So now I'm going to erase any stray lines I don't like. So I'm going to get rid of this plus sign and clean up the first eye I made there, like that. So that's a start. Okay, so now I'm going to sketch in where I want the wings, and if you look on the first one, the original, I started them just inside the line of the eyes, here and here, and I'm going to draw a wing down to here on both sides, and then I'm going to turn it and create a wing on the back side and connect them together, and I'm going to leave this area for the tail. here and come down to a point on the side and here. And then I'm going to turn it to the back, and I want the tail to end about 1/3 of the way up. So I'm going to put a little mark here and then connect this dot with a line to go here where the tip of the wing is there, and the same for this other side. Like that. It's pretty easy. And then the top of the wings will go about even with the bottom edge of the eye, right about here. So I'm kind of drawing in really lightly where the top of the wings will be. And they're fairly even. You see how that's done? Okay. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to switch to the markers. First I'm going to start with the fine tip Sharpie marker, and I'm going to outline the lines I just drew in pencil, and then I can always go back in with the thicker Sharpie pen and create heavier line work. So my eyes are going to be outlined first with the thin one, and then I'll do details, and then when I want to make a darker line I can add the Sharpie marker, the thick line. And here's the wing. Oops, went off the line a little bit, no big deal. And there we go, and I'm not drawing in this line. I'm going to leave that right there until I'm done drawing in all the feathers, and then I'll erase that later. But I want to start on the eyes because I think the eyes have a really good character to your piece, and I want to start with a circle in the middle. Kind of gives it their own little life when you put the eyes in. And don't be afraid to do the eyes. And if you need any inspiration, go online and search for owls. And that's what I did when I was doing mine. I wanted to see details. Of course, this is not realistic looking, it's more cartoonish, but I wanted to see what they looked like so I could get a nice effect when I drew my piece in. So now I'm using the fine line again and putting in some iris. Owls have big, distinctive eyes. It's one of the first things we notice about them when we see them. So I'm going to draw in the iris. That, and then I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and add some details. So their pupils are usually small because they are night-seeing creatures. They hunt at night, so their pupils are usually pretty small. And now it's starting to get some character already. So I'm going to outline this eye with the thicker marker, like that. And now I also want to color in the beak. And that just takes a moment. There we go. So I'm going to let that ink dry. And then I can go back and blow on it a little bit and erase those pencil lines. And you won't see them at all. So it will look like you sketched it all with the markers. There we go. Getting there. So, things you want to add in. For the stomach area, the belly area, I like to do these little lines with the thin, first I do it with the thin line Sharpie marker, the thin one, and I put in all these little U-shaped lines for feathers. I saved a space at the bottom and did some little feet, and I just made like 3 little claws because his feet are hidden under his belly feathers, so I wanted to just indicate some little feet. So I think I'll draw those in first, and that way when I do the little tiny feathers, I'll be not marking over something that I've already drawn. Just a simple little half circle with a middle line to indicate the toes. You can make them I'm sorry, the claws, not the toes. I can make them a little thicker so it looks like talons there. It's really up to you how much detail you want to put in, and then I will take my time, and starting at the top I will start making these little feather indications, and I leave a little bit of space, and I try to keep them even across the bird. And then on my next row I will go in between them. Like that. And then fill this in here with half of that design. Alright, you get the idea? So I would fill this whole thing in, this whole area in with these little U-shaped designs to indicate little feathers. So I want to indicate also his face before I start putting in the wing feathers, because I want to get this line in here first and not cover it up with the wing. So I will draw a line around the face, and that is usually covered with little tiny feathers. So I'm going to just draw that in, and it is something that indicates where their eyes are. Their eyes are quite often surrounded by these feathers that look like they're popping out like this around their face. It's a way for them to hear better and to see better. It kind of brings the focal into their eyes, and their eyes are really important. So you want to make sure that they really stand out on your piece. So here I've got this shape that I drew around his eyes, and now I'm just going to add some little hairline details so that you can see where the face really is. All the way around, and still using this fine tipped Sharpie marker. And he usually has, or he or she, whichever you want to do, has a tuft of feathers right here at the top of the face, like that. Now I can go in and fill this area in with more of these U-shaped little feathers, and I kept them thick and thin. They get smaller at the top and get just slightly bigger towards they go down towards the back. Something to remember. And then along the tuft of the ears and the top of the head, I put in all these little line details to show the little fine feathers that grow here. So these go, I want to see which way they go. These go from the center out and upwards like this. Just play around with ideas that you have. Don't worry about getting it exact. This is a craft and not a fine art. So have fun and play with it. This is something fun to do with children, and they like to do it. It's nice to do something that they can use for storytelling. And make like a puppet show would be fun. So I'm also going to add details into here. More feathers all the way up to the ears. And don't forget, details are consistent all the way around your piece, front and back. So on this piece, I did it all the way around on the back as well. Okay? Then we want to work on the feathers. Feathers are fun. So I'm going to use the pencil again to draw in some feathers. And they're longer on the top than they are towards the bottom of the feather, the wing itself. And that is just really easy to do. So here's my line indication, the top of my wings, and I'm going to take and make feathers that go about a little more than a third, maybe halfway down for the top layer. And I'm drawing them in like this. And angle them just a little bit. And they're going to overlap a little bit here. So I'm just going to bring it here. So this will be the center where they overlap. And then I'll start from this direction. And it's about the same, yep, about the same here. I hope you can see this all right. And one more will overlap So they overlap just a little bit here. Then I'll continue to draw them in smaller as I go down here. And then finally at the tip, one comes all the way down to the tip, and they're a little bit thinner. There we go. So now I've got this wing sketched in. So I'm going to use my Sharpie marker again, and I'm just going to outline them. I'm going to go ahead because I have this one done with the darker lines, the thicker lines. I'm going to go and outline all of my feathers individually, like this. Like that. And this one, complete that line, make it, fill that in. Now I'm going to use the thin one and draw all the little lines that go into the feather. So there's the center, and then there's angled little tiny hairs on each feather. In that direction, I bring it all the way up to this, so the line where I drew where it ends. That's the top of the wing. And draw them in carefully. See that? Okay, so I'll do that for every single one. And it does take a while. Just take your time. Keep your lines even. Don't rush it, is what I'm trying to say. The more detail you can put in, the better results you'll get. So there's that, the beginning of a wing. So we'll end up looking like this. And if you have any gaps between your feathers that you want to fill in, you can simply fill it in with the marker like I did here, with the thicker marker. And it will also give it more detail and more weight in between. So if you make a mistake, you can always cover it up with more marker. So there's that. So like I've got an awkward spot here between this wing and the one next to it. So I'll just take and cover it up a little bit with some ink and make that just a little bit stronger line right there. And I also noticed on my original, I took the black marker and filled in. See how I filled in around this edge of the feather here? It didn't quite go all the way to the edge, so I can fill it in like here. I can fill it in here to get the shape of the feather I want. And then it looks pretty nice and complete, like that. So, take your time, have some fun. I would suggest you try it in black and white first, just to get the feel of it. Then the second one I did,